Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Very well, Eric. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm just, I'm a bit jealous actually, because that backdrop that you've got there just looks fantastic. I guess that's Cyberhawk's office, right?
This is our HQ, which right now is completely empty. If I spin it around, you'll see there's nobody here. But the most appealing part of it, Eric, if we're in the Edinburgh International Climbing Arena, and we're about 30 meters up, overlooking the climbing arena. There's nobody in there, obviously, either because of COVID. But this is this is where we work. So, if you've had enough and you're getting sick of looking at it, you just kind of wander over to the window and watch the climbers.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of cool.
Did you know that there was office space there, or is this something that you kind of negotiated with the climbing group, or how did it work?
Well, I knew the climbing arena existed, and I came here first of all to climb, and then I thought, what an amazing place. Nobody in Edinburgh or even Scotland knows it's here. It's just such a hidden gem. And I thought, if I ever get the chance to have an office in this place, wouldn't that be amazing? So it's owned by Edinburgh Leisure, which is in turn owned by the Edinburgh City Council. So there was a 5-year negotiation to convince them to let us move in here. And you want to pay rent? You want to pay rent? Yeah. Somebody from the Edinburgh City Council said, it's a bit risky, we'd actually rather leave it empty. And I said, you'd rather leave it empty than have us move in there and pay you rent?
Oh my
and
goodness
they said,
me.
yeah, because you might move out.
Yeah.
I went, right. We're obviously on a different planet, but that was their response. But anyway, we're here. We're very happy, and we have a great relationship with Edinburgh Leisure.
No, very good, very good. Superb facility, and nice, interesting for your people as well and yourself to be in an environment where it's not just the box standard kind of office environment, right? That would just suck the life out of everyone.
Yeah, you want to come to work, and you want to be somewhere that's pleasant. And not feel like you're being trapped. And even if the weather's appalling here, you can look out in the climbing arena, it's a good feeling.
Cool, and it also segues neatly into almost your origins in life, or a little bit of your origins in life, which we'll cover in a second or two. It harks back to a time in your life when you were dangling off ropes for a living. Just something that I noticed, and because it's very relevant to me, you hit the big 5-0. Was it this week or last week?
It was this weekend just gone past. I turned 50, so I'm I think 5 or 6 months older than you.
Yeah, five months older than me. So I was the first baby born in Scotland in 1971. I was January 1.
All right.
I made it onto the news. I was a superstar. I made it onto the Scotland Today. I made it into the Daily Record and the Evening Times in Glasgow. First baby born in Scotland. 11 pounds 10 ounces. I was like a bowling ball. And things have never really changed.
I'm not saying anything about your appearance at all.
Thank you. So was it? My question is: was it painful in any way? That when the timer clicked over to 5-0, was there any pain?
Not at all. I think mentally I'd prepared for it 6 months before. I couldn't believe that I was turning 50, because then I thought, do I actually know anybody that's in their 50s? But of course I do.
Yeah.
And I think if you're still able to do everything that you want to do, then it doesn't really have any significance. If I was if I was unable to walk, or I couldn't physically do the things I wanted to do, or I didn't have a relationship with my kids or something like that, then you look back and perhaps feel a bit sad. But I didn't. I felt good.
You just decided to go and chuck yourself into a harbour with your hands behind your back.
Yeah, I mean, I like jumping off stuff, and I was down the beach with my kids and some friends, and we went down there and jumped off the harbour wall, and the tide was high, so there's plenty of depth in there. It perhaps looked a little scarier than it was, but I did check it first. I put a mask on, went in, had a little look, because the kids were all jumping off as well, and it was deep enough, and I thought, let's do it head first without my hands.
which you equated to the whole idea of setting up and running a business, which I really loved as well. It was a great analogy. So on that, just looking back through your digital resume, I'm really interested how you go from Honolulu, looking after that camp in Honolulu, to one day I want to be in non-destructive testing and inspection. How did that transition happen?
Well, I mean, there was no clear career path, to be honest. And the job that I had in Hawaii, I was running a summer camp on the North Shore of Oahu, and it was a job that I wasn't qualified or even entitled to do. And I was so surprised that they let me do it, to be honest. But I was responsible for the summer camp. So we had kids coming from Mexico, Taiwan, mainland USA, and also from the islands of Hawaii. And we ran a residential summer camp, and it was the most rewarding job I've ever had. It was so rewarding, and we were all paid a pittance. You didn't get paid much money, but you lived for the enjoyment every day and just trying to make it fun and exciting for the kids. And the day started at 7 in the morning, and we went to bed probably at about midnight every day of the week. And it was great, but it's you couldn't raise a family on that income or get a mortgage even. So I knew it was, unless it's just a difficult proposition. I think it's the people that run camps are either from money and have the land, and there aren't many of them in the UK, but that was in the US. So how did I get into non-destructive testing from there? Quite bizarrely. So I went back to Australia, where I'm from, and what I want to do was continue traveling. So I was always looking for an opportunity or a way that I could travel and get paid. So that was my goal. I applied for a job at the casino in Perth, and I wanted to be a croupier, because then you can work on cruise ships and then you can travel the world. So that was my plan. I did the interview, and they said, right, we're going to put you down for a training course to learn blackjack, but you've got, the course doesn't start for maybe a month or 2 months. I thought, right, what am I going to do? And through connections, so one of the guys that came to work for me in Hawaii at the summer camp, his name's Miles. His mother was a financial controller at this NDT company, and he'd worked summers there. And Dot's her name, and she knew I was back. And the MD of that company, Matt Callanan, he rang me up and he said, "Hey, Chris, you don't know me, but I know you're back in Perth, and we need somebody to go out to a fabrication yard tomorrow morning at 5 in the morning to be a radiography assistant." And I said, what are you talking about? What does that mean? He said, "Look, don't worry about it. It's not complicated. You just need to go there, and you need to, by law, there need to be 2 people on the job, and you need to go there and with a hard hat, steel toe cap boots, we'll send you a film badge." A taxi came over and dropped this film badge to me, and just meet this radiographer at this workshop in Kwinana at 5 in the morning. So I rocked up there at 5 in the morning, and that's how my NDT career began. I met this guy, and as with most things, to begin with, it looks complicated, and you say, what are you doing, and how does that work, and how does radiation work? And then in a few months you say, I think I can do that, because I've been watching you, and I do the next part of that, and before you know it, I did the course, I became a radiographer, and that was how I then got into inspection, and then how I got into rope access, and that's how I got into drones. That's how I'm sitting here today.
I just love the idea of sliding doors, and how, imagine that croupier course started the next day instead of in 6 months' time or whatever. Imagine it started the next day. You'd be where would you be? What would your life path have looked like if the croupier course started then?
I don't know. I'd probably be a cruise director or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm quite happy, but
yeah, you would.
But it would be quite different.
So let's you go through NDT into rope access and then into drones. What was the transition from? I'm just really interested, because I think either you guys were the first or one of the first to take drones into industrial environments. Is that right?
That's right. So Cyberhawk was started by two friends of mine, Malcolm Connolly and Doogie Walker. And Doogie worked with me on the Captain installations, which were then owned by Chevron.
Right.
And I was, what they called an OIE, an offshore inspection engineer. And Doogie said to me, I'm starting this company with Malcolm, who I'd met, and we want to use drones for asset inspection. And I was like, all right, okay, that sounds interesting. What are you going to inspect? And he said, well, we're going to inspect, anything that's big, anything that's tall, comms masts, flare stacks. And in the back of my head, I thought, that's not a business that's it's a business that'll sustain two people. It's a craft business, but it's not something that you could ever scale and make a lot of money. So back in my head, I thought, good luck with that. Not knowing what was to come later. So Doogie and I we're good friends, still are. In fact, he was with us on Sunday. He said to me, look, we think we've got this flare inspection job in Brazil. Big flare in the jungle. Would you write the inspection report? Malcolm's going to fly. I'll be the controller of the camera system. We want you to write the report. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll write the report for you if you get the job. They didn't end up getting the job. And so, sort of maybe a year passed. They were still occasionally doing trips offshore. And they were, asking me, do you want to get involved? Do you want to help us out? Because we need somebody with, sort of deep inspection experience to help us. And I thought, not in this world do I really want to get involved in this. It just sounds pie in the sky stuff. But I was looking at investing with another person I know in the business and inspection business in Australia. So I had this idea about, I was getting bored offshore. Yeah. I kind of been and done everything at least 3 times and wanted to do, wanted to be involved in business. But I wasn't sure about the drones because I could only see the application for flare stacks. And then we were playing golf at Dalmore Golf Club in Edinburgh, and Doogie said to me, he says, "You're not going to believe it." He said, "I think we've scored some investment with SSE, Scottish and Southern Energy. They're going to invest in the company." Because they'd been going around to meet various angel investors, and I said, "It's great. What does it mean for you?" He said, "Well, they've valued the company at £1 million." I said, "What?" I said, "How the hell did they value that at £1 million? They haven't done anything yet." He says, "Oh, search me, but we've got this valuation of £1 million." And he said, "Now are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested now, but I need to go and meet I want to meet the private equity or the equity guys, the investor teams from SSC, and find out why they've valued this business at £1 million and why they're going to put their money into it." So I went up to Inverarmond House in Perth and I met a guy called Stuart Deed, who doesn't work for them anymore. And I said to him, "Tell me why you're investing in Cyberhawk." And he said, we're, who SSE are. We've just bought electricity in Ireland. We've bought wind farms. We now own assets in Spain and Portugal. And if we had a way of inspecting wind turbine blades without people necessarily having to work at height, even if it was more expensive, we'd do it because of the reducing the risk for our people. Yeah. I said, right, okay, wind turbines. Okay. I said, how many wind turbines are there on each site? And he said, between 20 and 100. And I'm trying to do this in my head. I'm like, okay, how many wind farms do you have? And, it's like, say 40 wind farms. And how often do you inspect them? And he said, well, annually, sometimes it's every 2 years. And quickly I thought that's enough to keep two teams busy for a year, So I said, okay, now I am interested. But I hadn't done any wind turbine inspection. And so that was the reason I got involved. And the joke that I make is that Doogie and Malcolm made me an offer that I couldn't understand. And I said, yeah. because I had no idea the what that takes, in terms of taking a new technology to market where nobody knows what it is, nobody trusts it. In our industry, the oil and gas industry, everyone's so conservative. They're very worried about looking stupid, and it was such a challenge. And I invested at the same time as SSE. So when the company became sort of proper company, then I put my money in, and it was I had to sell a house to do it. It wasn't I didn't put 10 grand in. I put 115,000 pounds in,
Right.
with no idea of what that future looked like. And we started. We had an incubation office. Right, you're doing sales. Right, what are you doing? You're technology. I want to be technology. No, I'm technology. Okay.
Was it like the start of the start of Reservoir Dogs?
It was something like that. But great fun, but extremely nerve-wracking, because you've got investors who are supportive. But I remember our chairman, the first time we did, I couldn't believe that people would pay us to do anything, to be honest, at the start. But we got paid, in 1 month. I remember we made £30,000 in a month, and I thought that was incredible. And our target for the year was, at that time, was something like 350 grand. And the chairman said to me, he's Irish guy, he goes, "You've got to do that every single month." And I thought, how the hell are we going to do this? Every single month we've got to do this, because the first 30 grand was so difficult.
Yeah.
And now, to put that in perspective, we're now, I think this month we'll do $1 million a month.
Yeah.
So from little things, big things grow. But the early days were a different type of challenging, because we were the first company to do it. The technology was absolutely, totally unreliable. We bought drones from Canada. I don't want to mention who they are. We bought those. They would do some flights, then they go upside down in the field. We had the micro drone, which is a well-known platform. That thing used to just get blown away with the wind. And it was just such a terrifying experience of whether this technology would ever work. And then we happened to meet Jan and Daniel Gurdon from a company called Ascending Technologies in Germany, called Aztec for short. We started to fly their platform, and we became quite close to these guys. So they'd come across to Scotland. We'd go and do client demonstrations together. They'd stay at Doogie's house. And they didn't tell us at the time, but they said later on, when we first met you, we thought you guys were crazy, because you're doing everything with a drone that you're not supposed to do.
Right.
You're not supposed to fly it near something with an electromagnetic field, like a transmission tower. You're not supposed to fly it underneath oil and gas platforms, or near things with flames coming out of it. We've had to explain them what a flare was. They're like, "Is that flames coming out?
Actual fire?"
Yeah, no, like, so I think as a group, they weren't sure whether they wanted to work with us. And they said, we just thought you guys were crazy. But we really pushed them because we were asking them to do such crazy things. They came on wind farms with us. They couldn't come on refineries, but they came on wind farms. We did lots of work together, and we really pushed the technology. And so what they did was they would give us exclusivity on the new technology for, say, 3 months or 6 months. Say, right, we've tested with you guys. You guys get to use it 6 months before anybody else. And then, other people who were then, sort of copying us, because they would just say, well, what's Cyberhawk doing? Let's buy what Cyberhawk's buying. And we would have, Eric, we would be at All Energy or something doing a demonstration. And then we would have these guys from an unnamed competitor who would be standing right down the front and recording everything that we were saying. It was so comical now that I look back on it.
Yep.
But that's, in the early days, the technology was just so ropey. And so we worked closely with Ascending Technologies, amazing guys. So have you seen these drone light shows?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I have. So that's Daniel Gurdon, the guy from Intel, is the same guy that came up with the concept of the drone light show. And he did it at the Winter Olympics. He did it at the Super Bowl. He did it at Disney. So this guy's, they're geniuses. And,
they're not messing about.
No, they're very, very clever. And I love the story. So Daniel and Jan went to MIT. They did it. They couldn't get on to the full-time robotics course. They got on there for a summer course, and the challenge was to fly inside a house, to find an entrance into a house, and then to exit the house completely autonomously. And this is more than 10 years ago. And the full-time course participants at MIT have been trying to do it all year. Daniel and Jan did it on the summer course. They went there and they aced it, and they flew their drone through the house. And then they started selling their drones to the universities as the research platforms. All those little drones that you see, batting balls. Yeah. That's their technology. So we were quite fortunate to get very close to them. They then sold their company to Intel. And we're close to them today. But in the early days, it was tough. It wasn't easy. So we were the first company to do it. I think we've done, 35 world firsts with a drone. And that's everything from a wind turbine. We did the first wind turbine, the first offshore platform, the first underdeck, the first confined space inspection. We did them all. And so we're quite proud of that. Yeah. And now other people have leveraged into those verticals, and there are thousands of companies doing it. Yeah. And so we've always tried to kind of stay ahead of the competition by changing our kind of business plan accordingly, because we don't want to get stuck just flying the drone. No. So what a story. I mean, it's incredible. I speak to a lot of people, but I don't speak to many people who have taken something completely new into industry and made it a roaring success, and are actually at the leading edge and looking for the next and the better. But going back to running this company, I mean, just even looking at the office space that you've got there, you don't need to have an office space that looks like that and that's set up like that. What drives you to be the CEO that you are? What's your sort of go-to? What's your driver away from the investment and away from EBITDA and monthly numbers and all that? What drives you? So, I mean, EBITDA numbers and all those sort of things. When I first got, my first interest in getting into business was, a fanciful idea of being a businessman and making money. And then after about 6 months, you just get that out of your head. It's all about, working your balls off, working really hard, and not, just working so hard to make sure that things happen, and just keep going. So the money isn't a driver for me anymore at all. So I think my kind of character ethos in terms of the style of leadership is, it comes from I think being treated badly as an employee in other companies. Right. And you've worked in the oil industry, I've worked in the oil industry, and I've worked for big companies, and I know what it feels like to be treated like a nothing, like a nobody. Not even being. I remember, going into I better not say who they are, but going into their offices in Aberdeen, and sort of I could, a reluctance to even let me wander around the office. Mm. Rope access guy from offshore. Don't let him. They don't say this, but you sit here, and we'll let you go into that room when there's somebody accompanying you, and you just got that sensation of being. Just not, it wasn't a nice feeling. Yeah. So, and the other things I remember is working for companies and not knowing what's going on. Mm-hmm. Having no idea whether the company's profitable, have no idea if there's any plan for anything. And so I think when I have the opportunity to do this, then, those memories kind of, alter your behavior. So you try to be open, you try to be welcoming to all people. So if anybody comes to this office, I tell anybody, whoever comes in, when they arrive, make them feel welcome, and don't leave them hanging there for 10. If you see somebody, I don't care if you don't know who they are, wander over there and say, hi, who are you here to see? And then stay with them and then say, "Can I get you a tea, coffee?" I'll go and find that person, or I'll bring you to them. If they're in a meeting, I'll just leave you here. But try and make them feel welcome. So I guess that's where it comes from, and having a nice office is part of that. You know, I went to Lloyd's Register's offices in Aberdeen, and that was my employer. You know, you would go down this tunnel of cubicles, and halfway down, my heart would be in my stomach, and I think, God, look at these people. How the hell do they come here every day and put up with this? You know, this is like soul destroying.
Yeah.
So I've always been anti kind of cubicles and sort of blah office spaces, because you know, it's like you spend so much time here, right? You want to come somewhere that you're excited and you want to be proud of it. And so that's why we created this. And let me tell you, it's not expensive. That's what everyone thinks when they come here. They go, "Oh, you've spent a fortune." I say, "No, we haven't. We did this all ourselves. I bought stuff off eBay. I bought things in sales. I bought things from people on LinkedIn. I found suppliers who were smaller and said, 'Will you do a deal?'" So everything we kind of, you know, we did ourselves. So it's not expensive. You can just make a little bit of effort and make something look a lot nicer than just relying on other people.
And talking about doing it yourselves and with a little bit of effort, I've been asked to ask you why there's an upside down canoe with plants coming out of it in your office space.
Yeah, well, it's just there.
Where is it?
So, oh, yeah.
live action Crux Cast. We're on the move. We're on the move.
So there it is. There it is.
So what is the story with that?
Well, so I had, so you can see the beams in here. It's Canadian oak beams. Have a look at that ceiling, but they're massive. Yeah. They're so strong. So we had somebody come in here and give us a quote for plants, you know, to put foliage around the place. And so I started talking to them, and I said, you know, they were showing me very corporate style planters and everything else. And I was like, "Have you got anything a bit more exciting?" Or, you know, and then they said, "You know what you could do? So you've got some really strong beams. You could do hanging baskets from the beams." I said, "Great, I like it. I like it." I said, "What about a trough? Could we get a trough and fill that with plants and have the plants coming over the top?" And he said, "Well, the trough would be heavy. It would need to be a rated, you know, pilots to hold it and all the rest of it." And I said, and he said, "And then how would we water the plants? Because I couldn't have my people climbing up on steps to water plants." So I said, I'll put in a 6-to-1 hauling system, pulley system. You can raise it up and then lower it down. But then I thought, no, what if somebody undoes that?
Yeah.
Messes around with it, couldn't have that. And then I said, I've got a better idea. I said, rather than a trough, I said, what about a canoe?
Because that's where you go. Yeah, when I think trough, I just go to canoe. That's what you do, right?
Exactly. So I said, what about a canoe? And we put the trough in the canoe. How about that? And then he was sort of looking at me like, "Are you off your head?" And he's like, "Where are you going to get a canoe?" I was like, "I don't know, eBay. We'll find a canoe." So, so I found the canoe on eBay. What did I pay for that? 300 quid. It's a hand-built, you know, wooden Canadian canoe. I got one of the guys who lives in Manchester to tie it to the top of his car. He drove it up here. We set it up, and then one weekend I came in with my daughter, and we bought synthetic. You know, they're not real flowers, so they just hang from the underside of it. So we did it ourselves. I mean, even, you know, like this paneling here. Yeah. One of our software developers came in on the weekend and nailed the planks to the ends of the desk. So, you know, before we moved in here, we had a very, you know, loose idea of what we wanted to do. And, you know, I think people were worried that I was going to get carried away and go overboard and, you know, "Oh God, what's he up to now?" You know, it's going to look like the Jester's Inn or something like that. But it's turned out great. And I think, you know, little things make a make a big difference.
Indeed, they do, and it gives us if nothing else, that's given us an insight into your head, how you think about things. One of the things that I'm really impressed by, because I spend my professional life doing this, is working with senior teams to trying to get them to grow into and cross that social divide into social. Now you see that, we've had a conversation before, that you see that as an important sort of, you've called it a blend of how social crosses over into business life, work life, the whole lot.
Yeah.
So you stand out to me as a CEO who behaves differently to average Joe CEO in our sectors. Why do you do that?
So I think when you know what our industry is like,
yeah,
and now and then you can apply that to all of the energy industries. Renewables is the same. Yeah, they're just a lot of people who are feared to be themselves.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why don't people want to be themselves? Why do they want to pretend to be something else?
Or stay so quiet that they become invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't get that. So I like the idea of challenging that status quo. I don't think you have to be boring. I don't think life has to be boring. I don't think work has to be boring. And in fact, the reverse. It was like school. School for me, I couldn't believe somebody put that together and said, this is the idea. We're going to get all these kids. We're going to put them in this room, and this is what we're going to do all day long, with the right stuff up on the chalkboard. I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, is this really what you've put together for us to do?
This is education.
How do you expect to keep my attention more than 15 minutes? Well, you don't. I just couldn't. Wasn't interested. Didn't pay attention. The question about the blending of work and home life that I was referring to before. So I think we're going through a bit of a change, and it's what sparked it was the French government put out a rule saying that employees are no longer able to respond to emails after 5 p.m. on a Friday. And I get why they're doing that, because there's this blend between home and work, and you never switch off, because we've got our phones now with us constantly.
Yep.
And human beings are addicted to these things. We all know that now.
Yep.
And so I understand why they're doing that, and it is important to have a separation and make sure you have downtime and all the rest of it. But I don't think the French government is going to stop anything, because you can't stop technology, and you can't stop the dopamine that humans get when they use these devices. Doesn't matter what language you speak. So my advice to people, and I've said it to people here, is get into a job that you like, because the idea that your work and personal are separate, I don't think is going to be realistic in the future. So you really have to find something that you enjoy. We're all moving to this kind of knowledge-based economy anyway, which doesn't require you to necessarily show up to a workshop every day and tool something. So you better get into something you enjoy, because there is going to be that blending there between the home and the work life. And then you've got to manage that environment. But if you don't enjoy what you do, if it doesn't, if it doesn't enthuse you, if you're not passionate about it, then it's going to cause problems for you anyway, mentally, because you're going to have this, oh God, why is that person always contacting me? Oh, I've just, so whereas I don't, so I get emails all the time, and sometimes I respond to them and sometimes I don't, but, I try not to do it too much when I'm with my family, but I actually enjoy my work. So I don't feel it's such a, it's a negative. I just don't feel that. And I think that anything that's kind of manually tasked, in our first world countries that we live in, that's going to get outsourced to other places. So, if we move to this knowledge economy, you better start using your brain, and you better start thinking about, what do I actually really like doing? And you better find something that you enjoy, because you're not going to be able to earn, a lot of money doing manual tasks, I don't think, or certain tasks.
I think that's a beautiful place to end it. I think let's make a date to check in once things kind of level out a little bit and see, because one of the things I'd like to do with you on the next one is the next evolution of what you do. And I know you've got a lot to say about that and where you think it's going and all of that. But for now, Chris, I think it's been great. It's been lovely to see you around the office. Lovely to get inside your head a little bit and find out how you tick, which is awesome. I guess people can get hold of you through LinkedIn and through the website, just regular channels.
Yeah, and I always reply to people on LinkedIn. If somebody sends me a message, I always get back to them. So
nice one.
So that's probably the best way. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. We will see you soon.
And I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.